question is, what are your favorites of the new crop of Australian genre films, and how do you think that they're moving forward?
It's interesting that they're not actually moving forward. If you look at the new genre films, they're all just low-budget horror films. We haven't actually made a big action film in Australia for a very, very long time. And with the exception of Wolf Creek, they haven't really hit, certainly in Australia. I'm not sure about over here. So it'll be very interesting. Rogue was kind of a great white hope. I don't know if anyone saw Rogue. I think it went straight to DVD here. Yeah, in a way, that was the one that could have really helped get genre film, the budgets up in Australia, and sort of get bigger scale projects underway. And it's a real shame that there wasn't a lot of interest for that. So I honestly don't know what the history of genre film is going to be in Australia. It would be nice to, obviously there are people who have the power, like your Eric Banners and Australian actors now who have made it internationally, who can come back and get these films up if they want, but at the moment it doesn't seem like they're the kind of films that they want to be making in Australia. So I'd be very interested to see what happens.
Yeah. I think casting has become much more of a factor in getting people into a venue like this, as opposed to the 50-inch plasma screen in their home, where they can almost have a cinematic experience. So what we need in Australia is for the Eric Banners, and the Hugh Jackmans of this world to commit to, flagrantly commercial enterprises at a price that is, sensible for an Australian budget, and then the world will be more interested in seeing those films. I think if Rogue had had a big name, one of the big Australian names in it, maybe it would have attracted an audience. There's so much competition out there for your leisure dollar, and it's a very noisy marketplace, and if you don't have the advertising budget to get your head above the competition, that will be a problem.
I think it's more, I agree, but it's more complicated than that. It's not just about cast, because clearly you have a movie like Bangkok Dangerous going out this weekend, which does, an appalling result. Australia is, as it was back in the days of 30-something years ago, we're all standing around looking to the Great Mountain, and the Great Mountain this year is Australia. Baz Luhrmann's picture with Nicole and Hugh Jackman, and running at about $175 million right now, 20th Century Fox financing. And we all hope, of course, myself included, that it will be the greatest Australian film in the history of Australian cinema, which means that if it outgrosses Dark Knight, it will take about $60 million, which means it'll take about, $30 million at the distribution level, with probably $5 million worth of costs. So you don't need to be a mathematician to figure out how well it will have to do outside Australia to cover that box office. Look, genre is not about dollars, and I actually don't think genre is about cast particularly. I think genre is about imagination. I think genre is about opportunity, and I think that what needs to happen, and is happening, is that the digital revolution, the opportunity for young people to go out there and make movies for $1.50 or $2.90 will throw up a whole bunch of new talent out of Australia that will simply cut through. And you're never going to necessarily have these films doing, $10 or even $20 million worth of box office. What you are going to do is you're going to find people who are going to get out there, make a movie, as a calling card, which will then lift them to a secondary or tertiary level. That's what I think is going to happen, but I don't think it really matters. Razorback is Razorback, whether it's got Eric Banner in it or me in it.
Yeah, it was a unique vision by Russell Mulcahy, and it has a weak script, but you don't care because there are all these gorgeous, amazing visuals and interesting shots of people being eaten by a mechanical pig. I think that the question applies to Canada too. I've made 9 films in Canada, but I don't see Canada really sort of making genre films other than Cronenberg's really interesting, eccentric takes on various genres. and I don't see anyone else trying to follow in his footsteps. I don't know whether his footsteps are so intimidating that no one's going to try.
And I just wanted to point out, John Hewitt, the director of Acolytes Tomorrow, you were inspired to become a filmmaker after seeing Stone, were you not? Yes, we've got a question down here in front.
Obviously, you were interviewing a slew of people. Was it more a case of difficulty of getting them to talk to you or getting them to shut up? And also, what was with that one critic? I mean, he just didn't like anything, did he? I mean, everybody should be shot and dragged around the town square.
He was also a director.
Oh, you're kidding?
A failed director. Yeah, 2 films.
Every film needs a villain. It was really interesting at the end of the film where the credits roll and people were waxing lyrical about the time. I thought, I'll go through all of Bob Ellis's interview and find something nice that he had to say about this period, and I couldn't find a word. An hour and a half, so. Yeah, look, it was really interesting. People said before we started shooting the film, who was going to want to talk to you about these films? And we found the answer was pretty much everyone. It was maybe because they'd never had the opportunity to talk about them before, and they all looked upon this period with a great deal of fondness. And obviously, people like John Seale and Russell Boyd have subsequently gone on to have huge Hollywood careers and won Oscars, realised that this was the time when they cut their chops, and if they hadn't been shooting cars and explosions, it probably wouldn't have prepared them for work over here.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew back in the early 70s anyway, and through to the early 80s, that we were breaking new ground. We were pioneering, we were learning on the job, and we were creating something. There was a great esprit de corps in the filmmaking community, and we did, most of us, try and help each other as well. So there was that wonderful spirit that we felt that we were doing something for Australia. And so that was, some of that has been lost, I think, and I hope the younger generation, the new filmmakers coming up, can recapture that.
That's what did anyone know many of these films? This is a revelation to a lot of people about Australian cinema, or were you aware that we had a genre industry?
Revelation?
Razorback! Turkey shoot!
Turkey shoot! How many people had heard of Turkey shoot? Show of hands.
How many
people have heard of Phantasm? And Phantasm, Tony's Phantasm.
Man from Hong Kong.
A Man from Hong Kong?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, when I made a film called Sahara, a remake of the 1943 original with Jim Belushi in the Bogart role, I asked my 140 members of the Royal Australian Air Force who were playing my Afrika Korps Germans while we were resetting the explosions, how many of you have seen this Australian film? A few hands went up, how many have seen that Australian film? And I said Turkey Shoot, otherwise known as Escape 2000 on the American continent, and every single hand went up. It's a guy picture.
I think the other great thing about Canada is the governmental structure you guys have, which makes it so much easier for independent Canadian distributors to access and be required to release independent, non-studio based pictures in both here and Quebec. All of these films that I've been associated with, and speak for some of the others as well, were acquired by independent Canadian distributors, whether it was Andre Link and Co out of Montreal, or some of the other companies. They were released here independently and often in marginally different versions from their US release, to the extent and in the manner in which they were released here. So more power and congratulations to the Canadian government for helping to get our movies from Australia out into the Canadian mainstream.